Welcome to Business Automated. Today we're diving deep into Airtable Interfaces, which in 2025 have become one of Airtable's most powerful features. I'll be honest, I was late to interfaces. I wasn't initially a fan, but today, with full conviction, I can say that if you are not using interfaces, your business is missing out. Regular Airtable views tend to get cluttered with time and show too much data. This can be really intimidating for some users, but also will slow you down when you are looking for the right information. Interfaces bring clarity, structure, and the right level of control into your team's workflow. In recent years, interfaces have evolved dramatically with more intuitive UI builder, with better filtering, better charts, ability to add buttons, and more advanced permissions. In this video, I will go over 7 actual business cases where you can use and implement interfaces, and later towards the end of the video, I will show you in detail how to build an interface from the scratch. Let's get started. Hi, this is Greg from Business Automated, and on this channel, we help you save time and money with useful solutions to automate your business. If you have not already, consider subscribing. That helps us produce more useful videos for you. Now we will go more in detail through the overview of individual interfaces. So we will go through a project management interface, we will go through a resource allocation interface, we will go through a dashboard showing sales CRM, we'll talk about event planning interface, we go also through a interface that helps to manage VC deal pipeline. Then we will focus on the interface that helps processing invoices and control the budgets. And then finally, we will go into an overview of a factory quality assurance interface. And I will also show you how you can build pages like that. In the description of this video, you'll find links to all those interfaces so that you can use this as a template to start for your own business. One of the common use cases for Airtable is project management. So here you can see an interface that shows a Gantt chart with all the tasks for different projects that we might be working within our company. So this might be a general view for everyone within the company, but also using the filters based on the current users, you can see more precise list for a person that is viewing this interface at this specific moment. You can see the tasks at hand and also see all tasks that have been maybe already done or completed on the project level. Here you can see there is a very nice way of summarizing what is the progress level for each of the projects that we might be working on. Another element is the schedule, which I have shown you. We also have a more traditional Kanban view, which allows us to close tasks based on moving cards left and right. And then we also have a timeline that is showing complete roadmap for all the projects that we might be working on. Then there's also a separate interface, which might be accessible only for management. And within that interface, you have an overview of all the tasks that are happening, how many of them are overdue, what is the number of tasks per employee, but then also weekly utilization per every employee, together with what are the specific tasks per each specific week. We also have a directory that shows over the team so that we can see which ones of the team members are full-time, which ones of them are contractors. Once you click on the details of a specific person, we have also ability to modify those details and reach out to them using a Slack link. Another example is a resource allocation interface for an advertising agency. So here we can see the people that work with us. We have full-time and part-time contractors. And within this interface, we can see all the time off that has been planned. And we also have an option to add time off for specific people. And within the next page on this interface, we also have an option to approve and reject requests. So we can approve a request and we can also reject requests. We can also click on a specific person and see what are all the requests that this person has filed. Another use case is using Airtable as a CRM. So here on the left-hand side, you will see that we have different dashboards, different individual interfaces with different pages for specific groups within our organization. So for example, if we go to the executive team, we can look at our sales performance dashboard. So you can see that we have regular line charts over here showing the target achievement and the average goal size. Below, we also have nice gallery view with our team showing what is the performance per each member of the team. So we can click on a specific member of our team and see details of the accounts. We can drill down to see what is happening with a specific accounts, what is the category, what were the interactions that we were having. We're able to get some of the AI values for the latest interactions and so on. Now, when we come back, we'll see that under the team performance, we can, for example, do more detailed chart that would be going into details of each opportunities to see how many opportunities are in which stage, whether, for example, all the deals from last quarter has been closed or moved to the next stages and so on. So here you can see a nice chart when this is being separated by specific quarter. Now we can also have a forecasting value and so on. We have pretty nice pivot tables that allows us to group by deal stage and a region, and also forecast by existing stages. And at the very bottom, we also have a list of all the open opportunities that we could review. We can also drill down into the details of that opportunity over here. What is the status? What were the latest interactions? Another great use case for Airtable is planning events. So here you will see that we have a list of multiple events. We have the budgets for each one of those events, as well as estimated expenses. And here we have the totals on top. Once we click on a specific event, we will see the breakdown of that budget for where it goes, whether it's going to venue, equipment, on other items. And below, we also have like the summary of the feedback that was provided by participants in that event. We also have the breakdown of all the sessions that have been planned for that specific event, as well as all the tasks related to that event. We also have a list of attendees. So everything you have for this is located in one specific place. Now, once you scroll down, you can have sessions that are visible for example, one of those events, or you can have sessions visible for all of those events. You can look at the details of the session as well. So for example, who is the person that will be speaking here? Is there any specific meeting link for that, some description and so on. So you have the sessions, you also have a list of speakers together with the bio. So this could be shared, for example, as an external link with people so they can know who is coming to your event. Now we also have tasks that are assigned to this specific events, and you could also add a filter to basically see for which event those tasks are related. We also have another interface that could be shared as a sort of external read-only interface, which provides feedback on all the events. So here you can see that we have feedback for all the sessions, all the keynotes, and so on. And we have like the individual responses. What were the comments that people have assigned for each one of those sessions? Here in the feedback form, this is a form that could be used to provide feedback for those events. Another use case for Airtable interfaces would be using this to process incoming venture capital deals. So you could have a form that is attached on your website, and all the submissions for the website end up here in this interface. So whenever you have something in the stage inbound, this is a new submission which you could review. This is a very draft interface, so obviously you wouldn't have term sheets and other documents at this stage, but you'd be able to see the details of the company, review their presentation, and if you're interested, schedule an automated invite to invite them for a call and move them to the next stage. And then on the next stages, you can basically manage all the documents within this specific interface over here. Another great use case for Airtable interfaces is using it for a review of accounts payable. So here we have all the invoices that came in that we need to review for payment. So here you will see details of that specific invoice. You have the company name, you have the contact, you have the description of the service. You can also click on the invoice that is attached to this directly here to see whether the payment details, the amounts, whether everything is adding up with what we have inside of the system. And if this is looking good, then here we can basically set the payment date and take an action to trigger the payment. We can also have a separate view that will show us totals for every contractor that we are dealing with. So for example, we can set certain budgets for each of the contractors and see how far away they are from the budget that we have set for spending with that specific contractor within given time period. And here on the list below, you will see all the invoices that were related to that specific manufacturer. So it's an easy way to have a great overview of your finance system. And now for our seventh interface, we will look at using Airtable interfaces on a factory floor instead of paper sheets as a quality control tool. So let's quickly look at this interface here. Imagine that this is a factory producing furnitures for kitchens, and we need to do quality checks on every piece of equipment that is being produced. So here, for example, we have different types of countertops, and those countertops needs to be evaluated against certain type of quality checks. So we'll open the item that is marked here with the number CT32, and you will see that this is a sanded countertop. Here we have a technical drawing for that so that we can know where to take the measurements, and underneath you will see that we are taking measurements for the weight. So for example here, the person doing the quality assurance would insert the weight, and if the weight is 1/8, this would mean that this weight is outside of tolerance. So you can see that here we already have a field that shows us whether this is within the quality limits or whether this is outside. So the next element would be us taking the measurements. We can also have those technical drawings to know which are the elements which are the places to take the measurements from, and then we can say whether there's a certain test that have been passed. We can mark it, and then we can add the name of the instructor that has conducted this. In this case, we would say that this countertop needs a repair because of the following reasons, and so on. So we can mark the reasons over here, and then the date of the inspection. We could also add some photos from the inspection. So if you're using this on the tablet, this would work very well to start the camera and take pictures. So for example, we have added our comments over here, and then the next person that would be doing the second round of quality assurance. So on their tablet, once that product lands in front of them, what they would do, they would go into the QC countertops, and then here they would look for that specific number that they see on the sticker, and then they can see, okay, so this is quality check number 1 was done. We can compare what was the weight there. Now we were able to sand it off and reduce it to 1.6, and now you see that, okay, so now this is within the target range, and the other measurements maybe for the second round there might be not necessary depending on the design of your production system. And here you would see, let's say, the thickness for the product. It would be also possible to add similar checks for any of the values over here, and then we can add the name of the instructor that was filling it out, and here we can say pass, failed, and so on. So this way we are able to go through all the items that we have on our production floor. Whatever comes in front of us, we can scan it, select it from here. We could also filter out here stuff by a specific inspector. We could also filter out stuff that, for example, has status Q3 empty. So if I'm looking to review only items that have not went through the QC2, I could find it over here. So now I'll show you how to build interface like this inside of Airtable, and we will do a similar interface like this, but we will do it for let's say evaluating the legs of tables. So let me show you first the Airtable base that is here underneath. All right, so our Airtable base here is fairly simple. So you will see that here we have table with models. So these are like the types of kitchen sets that we produce. And then for every one of those models, we have certain parts that would go for that specific model. So here you will see the list of parts. So for example, we have different types of countertops, sanded countertops, and so on. And then we have, for example, table legs, leg mounts, and so on. So we can maybe use the table legs and the leg mounts for the next example over here. You will see that we have some further description of each of those items over here. So for example, we have weight. What is the weight 1? What is the weight 2? If there would be any difference between the weight in the QC1 and QC2. So this is, it could be the same weight, it could be different. So for example, here we'll keep the same weight. Here we have slightly different weight. Here we could also have some parameters to compare this against if if we would like to add it to the interface. All right, so this could be some like additional information and so on. And here are some summary fields from the rollups. We don't need this at the moment. So let's do an interface that would allow us to do quality check for the table legs and the leg mounts. So here we have inspectors, this we will keep, and here we have a dedicated table for just doing the quality check for the tops. So let's create a new table that would be copy of this one. All right. What I will do here is, for example, I will create auto-generated ID so that we don't need to insert specific ID. You could have this ID being inserted if you already have certain IDs, or you could have this auto-generated Airtable. Now for the part type, here we will actually limit the view to only parts that relates to legs. So here, just for the sake of exercise, let's categorize the table legs and the leg mounts as legs, and this will mean that, for example, here we can limit what's visible here for the selection to only legs by using either a view, which I have created, so view legs, or if you have a pro plan or team plan, you could also change it over to using the filter record by condition, and we could filter it out from directly here. So now you will see that the only two parts that will show up here is table legs and the leg mounts. And now another element, so let's select one of them. We could also call it like, and then for example, the metal ones could have higher weight. So here in the selection, we only have parts that relate to legs. So let's select one of them. And you will see that once we have selected that part type, lookup values will give us a reference to the values that we'll be comparing with. So you can see that here we already have created the status field. So once we insert, for example, 300, we will see this outside tolerance status that we'll be using inside of interface. So here you can see that we are using a formula that if you would like to, for example, adjust the tolerance, here we have 10% up and 10% down. You could change this formula here to give you a different results. And the result of the formula is using a very nice feature, which is change the output of the formula to a single select. And here we defined all the possible outputs. Once we have defined all the possible outputs, you will see that the result will be a nice tag that will give us a visual feedback whether this is correct or not. The same thing is happening with the weight status too. So if we put, for example, 240, will be exactly within range. This way we could copy that field and also use it for other parts. Like for example, we could do the same checks for width, we could do the same checks for length and so on. Like in this case, we could add many other fields that we would like to check against. Here for the QC inspectors, we have created linked fields that will be linking to the inspectors. It would be possible if you have a plan that has multiple people on it, you could basically instead of that use either a user field, or you could also have the last modified by to know what was the person that was changing that specific record as a last time. But I think it's also nice to have it separately divided into person that has completed QC1 and QC2. Then we have comments field. We can also add any additional tests and any additional checkboxes over here. So that is the setup of this specific Airtable. You will also see that we're looking up from the parts any images that we would like to add over here. All right. So now how would we build interface like this so that it looks exactly the same way? So the next step for that would be to, for example, we will go over here, we'll click edit pages. We will get rid of this interface over here, and we will add a new page. The new page in this case will be a list view. As a list view, we will select our new table that we have created, QC legs, and you can see that we have this view over here. So the only thing that we would need to do right now is add filters and the right fields over here. So let's add first the fields that we would like to see: part type, QC status, and QC status 2. So here we can modify inside of the fields what we want to see. So we will look for QC1, QC1 status, and QC2 status. All right, we have the same view right now. One other element that we would like to add over here is filters. So once we click on the top level, not on this table here, we click on the top bar, we select the whole page. Now we have ability to add single select dropdowns. So what we can do here is click on the dropdowns, and you can see that we have the first dropdown, which is the part-time, allows us to select and filter through the part-time. The next one would be status. So we select QC status 1, QC status 2, and this way we are able to filter out based on a specific status. Next element is also a button to add new records over here. So this is a fairly recent addition on all the Airtable interfaces. Once you scroll down to the bottom, you can create a new button. So we have just added the button. Once you click on the button, we can select what kind of action we would like to have. In this case, we will do open record creation. And this record creation will go into the table QC legs. And for this, we will actually create a new layout form. We can reuse existing one, but we'll create a new record form. So here we have multiple fields. The only thing that we would like to add here, we don't want to add any of those values here. We just want to have a new part, and we'll make it mandatory. We can also add a default value here. So as a default value, we'll say, okay, in most cases, we're going to be going through the table legs would. People can change it if they would like to use a different one. We can add some more information on this card. So for example, we can add like a type and model, so it's easier for people to see what kind of part it is. All right. If we would like, we could also add some fields over here, but this is just to initiate adding new records. So in this case, this would not be necessary. So the only thing we want this to do is that once we click on it, okay, we want to create new entry. I need to basically go into the preview, and I have added new records. So this way we could add, for example, multiple parts. It should not allow linking to multiple records. It should be one record per time. So part-time. So this way we could add new parts directly in Airtable if we know the numbers, or we could basically have people on the floor. Whenever they start new record, that new record would show up over here. And this is when they would start the process to evaluate the quality. Okay, so now the only part is that this is not clickable. So let's go back to the editing view. Now we need to add option to allow opening this record. So now we have created new layout to edit this record, and I like to make it full screen so that we are able to utilize the full screen, especially if you're on the smaller devices. Okay, so now let's rearrange this layout slightly. So I will delete things that I don't need over here. I like the image, but I would like to have this in a bigger format. So it can be either hero, or if we have multiple images, then we can have a carousel. In this case, I would do it as a hero. And now for this quality check part that you can see in this interface over here, I'll create a new block that would be having the weight number 1. So for example, here I will not add another field. Here I will create a brand new group. You can see that we have the new group. I will also I will show a background color to visually differentiate it from the rest. This is the name. And now what we will do, we will add some additional comments. So you can see that here we also have ability to add description. So we need to enable description over here. We'll pass the description here. And then the next step will be adding the target weight for QC1 and QC2. You will notice also that I will change that label location is located on top of the parts. So here I will move it to the side. So now we have two weights, target weights next to one another. And we can also change the description. So the same way we can adjust the weight over here. We can just call it target weight during QC1 and QC2. The next step will be our input field. So we will add QC1 weight, and then all right, so I'll place them next to one another, and then we'll also make them editable so that we can input values, and then let's add the status fields as well. And both of them will change to format large. So as we are designing this, we can also test here in the middle whether this is already working as we intended. And you will see that the size makes quite a bit of difference in terms how this is presented. All right, so we have this block over here, and then we will do a similar thing. We'll create another block for dimensions. So let's add a new group, And now it's just a matter of making them, all of them, editable and putting them in the right layout that we would like to use. We could also add exactly same formulas that would tell us if there's any deviation in terms of length or any other parameters that you would like. We will disable the comments because sometimes they take unnecessary space. Now we'll add one more field that contains the checkboxes. Let's also make them large, editable, and next to one another. And then the final part is the sign off field with the name of the inspectors and the final status. We can also get rid of the group title if this is unnecessary. And here, instead of making this editable, we toggle link or unlinked records. So this is something that will allow us to link or unlink inspectors from here. If needed, we can also have an option that would allow us to add new people through a record. So we could add new people, might not be necessary in this. In this case, we also can enable looking into the details of that inspector. So once you click on it, you will see the profile picture and you can see like the specializations and the parts that this person has been assigned and so on. Let's continue with other fields with the status and the dates and so on. So in this case, we made the date editable so people can manually enter the date, but it's also possible that we could have an automation that would react to whenever the status of the field QC status 1 is changed. This would trigger automatically setting a today's date within that field over here. And then finally, we add a photo, which we also make editable. This way we'll be able to take pictures, let's say, from our tablet. And that's it. The moment once we have this one done, we can properly rename it and we can publish this, and voila, we have our quality check interface, and we could be using this on the production floor instead of paper forms, with all the information being immediately available so that we can be running charts and stats based on our production progress. Yeah, that's it. So I hope this was useful for you guys. If you would like similar solutions implemented for your business, do not hesitate to reach out to us and we'll be happy to design the most functional interface for you. Thank you very much for your time watching and good luck automating your business. Bye.